this in 1 second. We'll now turn to Miles Guo. Miles, you've been as a top whistleblower. And we saw what happened to the whistleblower, Dr. Lee. Dr. Lee, this brave doctor with a group of doctors. In December, Dr. Lee started to take on the role of a whistleblower to try to say, hey, we have a major SARS problem here in Wuhan. The authorities basically brought him before a magistrate. He was dressed down. He said, this is wrong. You have to sign these documents that you're a rumor monger and you're going to go to prison. Later on, it was deemed that he was actually a whistleblower trying to alert the authorities that there was a massive problem in Wuhan. It looks like that time the things were not done is the reason that this pandemic has gotten out of control. Dr. Lee then heroically volunteered, after he was let go by the authorities, volunteered to go back in and start serving his patients in Wuhan, understanding that that was a death sentence. And Dr. Lee died, I think, 2 weeks after returning to service. He's one of the great heroes out there, these medical doctors. So, Miles, we got a couple of minutes, and I want to ask you to stay over after the break with Bill. But, Miles, what is your point? Your point about what's happened in Wuhan, about is this a natural virus that came out of the wet market, or do you believe, and can you back it up, that this actually came out of the biological weapons program?
Thank you, sir. I believe there's no doubt this is man-made, not from, this is the seafood marking, animal marking. This is too ridiculous. This is no reason. Same the American hamburger is from the trees. The trees never can give you a hamburger. The trees. The hamburger is handmade, made in the kitchen. So now I think we need to focus. That's very important. It's the last 15 hours in the China, in the Wuhan, what has happened. Now, I think in the Wuhan, it's a spread epidemic is even worse. I think this is the fundamental, the reason. And day one is they want to create this the coronavirus is intentional partial to Hong Kong kill people. Now it's the real picture intentional partial abandonment. So CCP it close all the Hubei, Wuhan. All the people just can come in, cannot come out. Then all the China people, you need to go back factory to work. But Wuhan also last the 8 hours. The government see all the Hubei people, you can leave your home, no quarantine, you can go to outside to work. They release the people, but you cannot leave the Hubei Paris, Wuhan city, you cannot out to the city. So now, I really believe intentional partial abandonment is the CCP strategy. This is very dangerous. This is second, disaster again, sir.
Okay, Miles, hang on for 1 second. I want to just make sure people understand that. You're saying, and by the way, Miles, we're going to go to a break, and you and Bill, we've asked you to stay over to drill down more on this. You're saying in the last 17 to 24 hours has been a significant change in Hubei, in Wuhan, and that is where they're letting people out of this strict quarantine, maybe in Hubei province, wanting them to go back to work, to the factories, to where the economy be picked up. But you cannot leave Hubei province. You're essentially quarantined in the entire province. They don't want people from Hubei going back to or going down to Shenzhen or any of the massive factory areas in the south. But once again, I think what people are asking, and we've got a minute, I want you to think about this over break, we'll come back to you and Bill, is what proof do you guys have right now that this is a weapon? Understanding hamburger does not grow from trees, it's cooked in the kitchen. How do you and Bill back this up? Because now this is getting to be a major international incident because of the fact that Lancet and top virus hunters around the world are saying, hey, it looks like it's natural, and you've got the People's Daily immediately pick up that article, and they essentially attacking Bill Gertz, Senator Cotton, et cetera. Okay, we're going to take a commercial break here to sell some advertisers to make sure we can pay for this. It's War Room Pandemic. It's episode 22. We've got Bill Gertz from the Washington Times. We've got Jack Maxey from the War himself, and we're honored to be joined today by Miles Guo from New York, from the Broadcast Center of G News, which is the whistleblowers network up there that goes into China every day to give the Chinese people some enlightenment. We'll return with War Room in just a minute.
the Trump train, and America's voice is on the move. You don't want to miss President Donald Trump live from Las Vegas, Nevada at the Keep America Great rally. Today at 3 p.m. Eastern. There's nothing better than a Trump rally. President Trump continues to fight for America. America continues to win. Today, live coverage begins at 2 p.m. Eastern. From the Capitol to the White House, everything that happens in this town impacts America. Get the latest intel from agendas to issues and world events that affect your world. The Daily Report. Stay tuned. War Room will be right back. It's a Keep America Great Trump rally recap.
As always, America's Voice News has boots on the ground. Contributors Ben Berkwam and Kevin Jackson will be bringing us all the action from tonight's event. Plus, contributors Jessica Rivera will join us from Lara Trump's rally in Aurora, Colorado.
Right here in Phoenix, Arizona. Get ready. It's coming, baby. It's coming. Trump 2020.
He's been attacked from every angle, from the media, that's why I thank you guys, from the media, because you're not the crazies in the media.
Fake news, yeah.
You're not the fake news. So.
Trump 2020. Trump 2020.
This is truly an incredible time for America.
Arizona was very important to the president's winning coalition in 2016.
He's done more for this country than any president in 50 years.
Yeah, we're out here in Aurora, Colorado, a suburb right outside of Denver, for a Keep America Great event hosted by Laura Trump.
Donald Trump is winning every day for this country, okay?
And we're standing up to the defense of our Constitution, our freedom.
Trump is actually working towards, helping us out a little bit more.
Hey, we love America's voice.
Every rally he goes to around the country that we watch, thousands show up, get all fired up.
USA! USA! USA!
And America is respected again, respected like never before. We're respected again.
So Arizona itself, as we reduce taxes, the state record revenue.
So to be here in Arizona shows that he feels that Arizona is very important to his winning map.
Americans are not going to vote for socialism.
And when this is all over, after you're done with your next 4 years, we're going to keep the MAGA, but you're going to put it, made America great again.
It's all over TV that the folks here tonight have helped a great World War II veteran into the arena. I don't know if he knows it, but he's right now the hottest celebrity in the world. I don't know what's going on here.
It's a wonderful, wonderful thing you've done for us. Thank you.
But under this administration, the great betrayal is over. America is no longer for sale.
Guys, the American dream is coming back. It is back alive and well in this country.
And he gave us our voice back. Literally, he gave America its voice back.
The president's strength in the face of adversity and under constant attack is truly inspiring and what we need in a leader. Thank you for joining us on America's Voice News.
America's Voice thanks all those great. Stephen K. Bannon's War Room will be right back on America's Voice.
Don't let this demon hide.
War Room Pandemic. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Welcome back live from the nation's capital. We're on Capitol Hill. It's episode 22 of War Room Pandemic. Joined by Bill Gertz, the author of Deceiving the Sky, Inside Communist China's Drive for Global Supremacy. It's a must-read book if you want to understand the world as it is today and maybe tomorrow. And also Miles Guo up from the Himalaya Embassy Broadcast Center in New York City in the middle of Midtown Manhattan, where he broadcasts every day of the week into Communist China to the Chinese people about their freedom and about how they're being suppressed. He goes through the VPN, and it's a show that literally hundreds of millions of people watch Miles Guo every day. Jack Maxey from the War Room is here. One of the things that's most stunning about this entire situation is any time that anybody tries to drill down on just the very basic information. And why is this important for people out in Chicago, 99.1 FM and 103.9 FM, on also the John Fredericks Radio Network, the Salem Broadcast Radio Network, America's Voice, because there is a global pandemic right now. There's a global pandemic of a deadly, serious virus. The question is, how did this get started? What is it? How did it happen? How did it get throughout the world? Why are there 100 million people under quarantine in Hubei province and in Wuhan? Why are there hundreds of millions in lockdown? Why is the world economy starting to come to a standstill as this is all happening? The questions have to be asked. And what is most stunning in America, even if you set aside the hatred of President Donald Trump by the media and that they must tear down all things Trump, in this situation, what's most stunning to me were people like Senator Tom Cotton, regarded as one of the most serious men or women on Capitol Hill about national security. People like Bill Gertz that have a 25 or 30-year history of breaking significant stories coming out of China. When these type of people, leave Miles Guo and Steve Bannon and the fire breathers aside, when you take these professionals day in and day out and they are attacked by the mainstream media, and specifically the New York Times, the Washington Post, the cable news operations, they take the side of the CCP. They take what the CCP says as absolute truth. Every day, all we hear all day long, Jack, is, there's 75,000 dead, there's 76,000 people infected, there's 2,100 dead. Everybody knows that these numbers are orders of magnitude bigger than that. Dr. Gabriel Leung in Hong Kong, others understand these are total lies being put out, but every day it's repeated and repeated and repeated. And when people talk about this laboratory in Wuhan, remember, I am renowned as not a conspiracy theory guy. I don't believe in the deep state because I say it's in your face. I don't believe in conspiracies at all. But I also don't believe in coincidences. Okay? I don't believe in coincidences. Okay? This laboratory happens to be in Wuhan. The center of the PLA medical research happens to be in Wuhan. How did this come out of Wuhan? That stuff that came out of the market, we now know from the World Health Organization, from CDC, all of that everything that was said about the wet market is a lie. All those videos, and it was Miles Guo that told me the very first day the video came out with the girl eating the bat head, the live bat, he said, that is the CCP, that's how they put propaganda out. They're trying to show the Chinese people are too uncivilized, right? And that's going to be their thing, that's these wet markets. It didn't happen in the wet market. Now we know patient zero had nothing to do with the wet market. That was on December 1st. Now we think it actually happened beforehand. The CDC has not been allowed. President Trump has offered now, I think, 5 times for the CDC, the top people in the world, to go over there. Been totally rejected by the CCP. President Xi has allowed the World Health Organization, who the top management looked to be a total disaster. And we had David Ramaswamy, a Hindu American, on here who had worked in Somalia and said that the guy, the head of the World Health Organization, was a disaster. They're now in hotel rooms, in 5-star premier hotel rooms in Beijing, reading data given to them by the CCP. They're not down in Wuhan. So, Bill, I want to go back to this thing. You made an assertion, and Miles, I'll come back to you in a second, but you made an assertion that there is a secret weapons program that's gone down there, and that has actually been documented by U.S. documents, by government documents, that it's a known fact that this was going on at that level 4, or around that level 4 lab. How do you back that up?
Well, in last summer, the State Department published its annual Arms Control Compliance Report. And in a section on China and its compliance with the Biological Weapons Convention, the report in the unclassified version stated pretty categorically that the U.S. believes that China is engaged in offensive biological weapons research. They have listed some of the activities. Again, it's an unclassified form. This is going on. And the fact that China has not disclosed this and has not discussed it. And the report says that the U.S. approached the Chinese, asked them about it, and were basically blown off. So again...
but hang on one second. You've also told me, and I want to make sure you back this up, you've also said that when it was agreed that they would get a level 4 lab, and the reason these level 4 labs, ladies and gentlemen, are so controversial is that you could have the ability to actually start a weapons program. You're not supposed to, but the ability is there if you had the right people. And by the way, you should understand, they sent the Major General The Wen Chen, I think it is, Wen Chen, Miles, has been sent. She's a major general. She studied here in the United States. She's renowned. She's renowned in the weapons program. She's now down in charge of this. But go back to this thing you talked about, that they admitted they actually had a program down there to qualify for the level 4 and kind of promise it wouldn't happen again, right?
Well, again, people mirror image with the United States, and we think that there are civilian and military facilities. In China, the military and civilian facilities are integrated totally. And so the Chinese basically are using their civilian, and this report suggests it, they call it dual-use research. In other words, military-civilian research. So you can assume that if they declared only one single P4 lab, pathogen 4 lab, that this is where they're going to be doing research on biological weapons.
The reason this is so important, as Dr. Hatfield said, right now there's only 2 ways that this gets solved. A vaccine is developed, and the vaccine is anywhere from, the experts have said, a year to a year and a half or longer away, or social separation, and that's a fancy term for quarantine, that you basically have to separate people. Dr. Hatfield says, at least as far as he sees, that the quarantine is actually not working because this continues to grow into China. The reason it's so important of whether it was a natural mutation from animals to humans and then human-to-human transmission versus a weapon, that the solution for this, if it's a weapon, the vaccine for this, if it's a weapon, it's how deadly it is much higher if it was some sort of a weapon or an experiment gone wrong or a vaccine gone wrong.
And Steve, let me make one point. The thing you need to understand about the Chinese Communist Party and government is that they are steeped in deception. So they were the ones that first published the genome for this virus. You have to take everything they give with great skepticism because they use deception strategically. We're now in a war of narratives. Their narrative is that any suggestion that it's man-made is a conspiracy theory. We're seeing that reflected in the New York Times and the Washington Post. And my firm belief is anyone who says they know or don't know what the cause of this is, again, is ill-informed or dishonest.
On Laura Ingraham the other night on Fox, and Laura Ingraham is one of the best interviewers, she had Dr. Fauci on. And I'll be brutally frank, I think Dr. Fauci is a disaster when he comes on media. He says one thing one day, another thing the next day. He went on John Katzmatidis' show 4 weeks or 3 weeks ago, right when we were starting this, said, oh, this is nothing to worry about. It's nothing now. It's a global pandemic. He was on Laura Ingraham, and she asked him, drilled him on exactly what you said. He says, oh, no, I talk to the Chinese doctors all the time, and they tell me. It's so naive. So naive and such a critical thing. I think that they've got to get control of the narrative coming out of our working group over there, and people shouldn't be allowed to go on TV and just spout stuff that's not thought through. Miles, I want to pivot back to you. You've got now on the G News site, and G News is the site that's kind of the whistleblower site for China. If you look at it, it's got hundreds of millions of page views from all the Chinese people that go through the VPN, this firewall to see it. But you actually have posted today, correct me if I'm wrong, a document that your team has pulled from a government website in Russia, right? And it's in the Russian language. I understand your team is translating it, but can you tell us what that means, what this document says about the Wuhan facility and about what happened in Wuhan?
Yes, sir. Yes, today in the G News, our team is put on the G News on the line. It's from the Russia government. It's the iceberg. It gave the government the report. This is officially, it's the later. This is from China, the coronavirus. It's the 100%. It's the man-made. It's not from natural. Okay. So on the other hand, I want to say, you need to know it's the last 2 years, 2018, 2019 since CCP in the China CCTV on the Army channel, they always talk. It's the CCP have the ability can make the coronavirus, same name, coronavirus. They say we can full control. We are about the biological weapon and the coronavirus with number 1 in the world, number 1 capability. Then it's the, since 2019, as December, is Dr. Lee, the heroes, is the with blue. And another 7 doctor is say the truth. Then CCP arrest them. Then some people die. Another 6 people, and all the family also now, until now, is get arrested. So also, it's the Wuhan, some leaders say, we are just from the animal, from the seafood market, with full control, no person to person. It's only animal to animal, with full control. After 2 weeks, it's Wuhan, it's get quarantine, it's lose control. Now it's personal to personal. So it's from the animal. It's animal, it make the fake video. The fake video from CCTV. It's the hoster make in the Hello, another country. This is why, sir, you need to ask this. Even if it's from the same seafood market and from the animal, why you want to cover the truth? Why 2 years ago, all the CCP army is in the CCTV talks, we have full capability, we have the full capability can kill America. This is officially talk, not my talk. You can go to G News, see everything in there. G News, not opinion, it's the G News. It's from the truth, in fact, evidence there. Thank you, sir.
No, but hang on. As evidence of Miles Guo, and look, a bunch of guys in mainstream media are going to say Miles Guo is a crazy man, and I say, hey, just look at H&A.
I'm not a crazy man. You not. Don't say me, sir. I don't like this one. I'm the creator $0 to $50 billion as legally only one Chinese. I'm not a crazy man. Don't talk.
No, I'm saying what they're saying about you. The guys, the bad guys. No, but the guys against you.
Yeah, only CCP. Not the other side. Only CCP. It's the enemy, and all the liar guy talking me this is the result. This lie. I'm a good guy.
By the way, you should see in the background right there is the hotel complex that Miles Guo actually built in Beijing. But Miles, I want to go back to one thing about being right. You have said from day one, and Gertz said the same thing, that People's Daily, that CCTV, that Global TV, the new operation, that the Wenzhou AP news service they have there, their press service, Global Times, that these are all mouthpieces of the government and official state media. The State Department, Mike Pompeo, not Steve Bannon, not Bill Gertz, not Miles Guo, they officially designated the other day that these are state-owned enterprises and put out state-controlled media that's essentially propaganda and will be restricted. Now we'll have some restrictions in the United States, correct? So that's everything that Miles, you have said this now for years, and the State Department's finally acted upon it. So that's another evidence of something that Miles has brought up and said, hey, you guys take this, and particularly the mainstream media takes this when they attack like Miles Guo, or they attack you, or they attack me in the Global Times. They take it as it's a real news service, and the mainstream media then reports this.
Yes, this is a really important step of reciprocity. This is something that happened during the Reagan administration. They created the Foreign Missions Act, and it was designed specifically to impose reciprocal restrictions on Soviet and East Bloc officials. Now we're doing it on China. It's another indication that we're recognizing that we're in a new Cold War.
But this is a huge move. This is what we did with Russia during the Cold War, because we realized that those were propaganda things for 20 and 30 years. And Miles Guo has said this from day one. Why are you guys allowing what is state-controlled propaganda to basically act like they're real news service, and your media just picks it up and reports it as fact, and in fact they're absolute lies coming from your enemies?
And then we saw that the Chinese retaliated by expelling 3 Wall Street Journal reporters in China who had nothing to do with an op-ed by Walter Russell Mead, whose headline was "The Real Sick Man of China." China played the race card and claimed that this was somehow a racist connotation. And I can tell you, I reported this week, the State Department is getting ready to retaliate. It's probably going to expel some of these Chinese propagandists in the United States.
This is for everybody at home. This is a huge drop at the ratcheting up and the intensity here. Mike Pompeo is a very even-handed, level-headed guy, and the guys around the State Department, right, there's a lot of never-Trumpers over there. But this thing is ratcheting up to the fact that the Wall Street Journal kicked out, the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party, kicked out 3 reporters from the Wall Street Journal just on the op-ed. And the op-ed, I dare anybody to go back there, and this op-ed is very even-handed. What Russell Mead is essentially saying is what we said on War Room Pandemic now for 4 weeks. There is something massive going on in China, and it's not the authorities have covered it up and have not acted in the best interest of the Chinese people. Forget the rest of the world, right? And it was a very even-handed. They went nuts. They threw 3 out. But here's the most important thing for the audience to understand, that the State Department said, hey, We're not just going to sit here and tell you. You're going to throw out real reporters from mainstream media operations in China. We're going to start throwing out these guys who work for these propaganda arms. And once again, I just point to Miles Guo. Miles Guo told us this years ago. Miles Guo gave an interview on Voice of America. The plug was pulled immediately, and he said, hey, you're allowing these propaganda things from your enemies to walk around here in Washington like they're real reporters. They're not real reporters. One is propaganda. Number two, they're essentially intelligence assets. Yes. And you're allowing absolute lies that hurt the Chinese people. Don't think you're helping the Chinese people. You're hurting the Chinese people. So, Miles, I want to turn to you now for a second and tell us about your view. You've been very adamant about Chinese media, the official media, and how it's a propaganda arm. You've been correct because now the State Department agrees with you after a couple of years. Tell us your thoughts.
Yes, sir, 100%. Sir, very important. You last 5 years, CCP signed near 1,000 contract with America. Do you see CCP buy any contract? Do you see we with Blue 3 years we talk is also 1,000 people and some effect. We everything you see once fake. So you look about China, everything is the propaganda. It's a CCP full control. You cannot trust this. We are in a decision based on the inside intelligence. CCP now is don't like to cooperate transparency and discover the cure. They just use the C-seat solution, save the responsibility onto another. Last 8 hours in the China WeChat have the 3 minutes of the videos. Very professional. It's a CCP, PLA make. You see, this is the coronavirus, 100% not from natural, but from American CIA. Even it's really from natural, from animal, they don't need, civil responsibility onto America. They want to cover the truth. This is big problem. West side media talk everything is driven by perfect. They don't like driven by the truth. This is the problem, sir.
So Miles is saying now that they're trying to get in front of this story about whether it's man-made or not, that their cover on the weapons side will be that, hey, even if it was, it's CIA. This is America trying to destroy the Chinese Communist Party for its hatred of the Chinese Communist Party. This is your guys. I want to go back to something you brought up that we're going to be driving as a narrative here that the American people are going to, the biological convention. Weapons thing. Walk people through what that is and why are we sitting here and allowing the CCP not to let the CDC and other real professionals into Wuhan, not to Beijing to sit there in a conference room and look at data provided by the CCP, but to get the best people in the world, Dr. Gabriel Leung in Hong Kong, to get the CDC guys in Atlanta, to get them into Wuhan, to get them to this Wuhan laboratory that nobody's talking about right now. It's kind of, we don't know what's going on. What is about that? You said you want to invoke the convention.
Yes.
Tell people what it is, why it's important, and what can be used for it.
Okay, the Biological Weapons Convention is a international arms agreement, and it basically says that signatories to this convention, that's the way it's described, must declare and give up all of their offensive biological weapons programs. China signed up to the convention in 1985, and they did not disclose their offensive biological weapons programs.
They lied. And they actually admitted they lied when they got the P4 lab. One of the elements to get the P4 lab in 2004 or 5, but after SARS, they had to come clean with everything. Yeah. And they essentially admitted from 85 for 20 years they had actually had a program, correct?
Correct, yeah. And I'll point out in my Washington Times column, I reported that there was a vigorous debate within the French government over whether to give them this laboratory. Why was there a debate? Because the security services and the intelligence service believed that the Chinese would use it for biological warfare research, which they are using it for that. It's important to understand that this is a real program. It's a covert program, and the United States. Where's all the arms controllers on this issue? Where's all the liberal arms controllers saying, "Hey, we should have a"?
Where's the op-ed sections of the New York Times? You think it'd be lit up with people trying to say this? It's not. This is what is so concerning, and it should be a concern to the American people. The complicity of the American media into the constant attacks on guys like Miles Guo and the constant attacks on guys like you, when they don't spend 1 second questioning the information that comes out from a totalitarian dictatorship that we now know in this pandemic. And one of the reasons we've done this show is to say they absolutely lied to the world. They lied to the world in December and in January. They lied to the White House. They lied to the world. They took people like Dr. Lee, who's a hero, a global hero, who tried to help the Chinese people by saying, hey, we have a problem. I think this is SARS. This is a problem. We got to get on top of it. They would have put him in prison. They made him sign documents under duress that he was a rumor monger and that he would never do it again. And then he went back and volunteered and went to that hospital and died. Miles, we're out of time today. I want to thank you very much for taking time away from your broadcast into China to join us here on War Room Pandemic. Has been fantastic. And once again, Miles, the State Department says you've been proven right, that the Chinese media is absolutely propaganda armed. So congratulations for another victory.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Jackie.
Bill Gertz,
Thank you very much.
The book is Deceiving the Sky, Inside Communist China's Drive for Global Supremacy. It's a must-read. Bill Gertz, columnist of the Washington Times. I want to thank you, Bill, for being here on War Room Pandemic. We'll be back Monday on another episode of this increasing crisis in the world. War Room Pandemic. Thank you very much. See you Monday.
Hi, I'm Oleg. I use Thumbtack so much, they asked me to be in a commercial. I got my hedges trimmed. I got my carpets cleaned. I even remodeled my entire kitchen. Just download the Thumbtack app and get prices from local pros for free. Thumbtack.com.
Whether you have a small home project like fixing a garage door or a big project like remodeling a kitchen, HomeAdvisor is always free to use. Compare prices, read reviews, and find the best local pros at HomeAdvisor.com.
The Trump train and America's voice is on the move.